Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We just talked about a ton of games. A lot of games that we didn't have a chance to get to in the first couple of segments, and ones that maybe weren't quite as close as a lot of us expected to be, especially that one up there in Eugene was very tough to watch. But let's get some winners and losers from this past weekend. A number of big time things that happened. But let's start with the conferences, as we often do. Obviously, it is a conversation that is going to be had at the end of the season. And the SEC is winning that conversation right about now. The Florida loss did not help. I will not argue that by any means. But the SEC got 2 wins over the Big 12 this past weekend with Mississippi State over Arizona State, Missouri over Kansas. You got a win over the ACC with Vandy going into Virginia Tech and dominating them. And you got a Big 10 win. You got one over Oklahoma over Michigan. No major upsets outside of Gainesville. A couple of ones that were ugly, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But you put yourself in a great position. Moving forward, the Mississippi State game is really the big one. Now, the Oklahoma game means the world. Absolutely gives you a little bit of a leg up on the conference that you're probably going to have the biggest run-in with, I suppose, when it comes to the CFP conversation. That being said, the Mississippi State game is massive. That is likely the 14th or 13th maybe best team in the SEC, beating maybe the third or second best team in the Big 12. That is going to carry a lot of weight. Let's just be totally honest. That is going to be the thing that possibly gets a 9-3 Oklahoma in over an 11-2 Big 12 title loser. You're going to be in a position where you have a lot of margin for error because of that Mississippi State win. Obviously, quite a bit of more work to do. You can't have multiple teams 9-3 and expect to get them both in over an 11-2 team, but it gives you a massive leg up. I'll tell you that. And I think you're in a position where the SEC is going to be having quite a few teams in this thing. There's no doubt about that, but I think they have about 8 true contenders for a playoff spot, maybe even more than that when you really widen the scope. I think you can go all the way down to maybe Auburn, of a team that absolutely can find their way in. Oklahoma, Missouri really getting firmly into the mix this past weekend. The SEC won this weekend. They're finding a way to win these kind of out-of-conference games. We'll talk about the overall records of the conferences here in a second, but they got some massive wins this weekend. Got a win over all but one of the Power 4 conferences. Massive in a moment where there's going to be an argument at the end of the season. We'll talk about that here in a second. The ACC did not do well this weekend. It is a very weird conference, a very not all that deep conference, if I'm being totally honest, but Clemson struggled really poorly. Obviously, Duke gets just boat raced by Illinois. SMU falls late to Baylor. Vandy just rolls over Virginia Tech. Boston College lost on the road to Michigan State. Syracuse almost fell. It was not all that pretty. Miami and Florida State looked the part. They got their comfortable wins. They went on about their business. I think Clemson is going to be okay, if I'm being totally honest, but the reality is this conference needs margins. This conference, the Big 12, they need to find a way to win the margins, win early season performances, play a little bit cleaner, and they haven't been able to do that. And you're in a position where now, if you're curious, the Power 4 schedules against other Power 4 opponents. The Power 4 conferences right now, the SEC is 8-2 against other Power 4 conferences. The Big 10 is 5-3. The Big 12 is 5-6, and the ACC is 3-9. There is very obviously a hierarchy there. Now, the ACC has gotten a couple of big-time wins over the Big 12, which helps them out a ton, but you're in a position where you didn't do enough in these first couple of weeks to put yourself in a great position moving forward. You better hope that Miami and Florida State and Clemson, they all find their footing, they all play great football the rest of the way, and you maybe have 2 11-1 teams going to Charlotte. If you don't, then you're in a position where maybe you do get one team in, and maybe you're in a position where you're getting boxed out for a 4th SEC team, and a lot of people will be very mad. Let's just be totally honest. Obviously, quite a bit of time to go. Obviously, a number of things that will happen over the next couple of weeks, but not the start that the ACC wanted in the out-of-conference play. Tennessee fans are having about as much fun as anyone in the entire country right about now. I don't want to say they lucked into the best quarterback they could have found, but sort of stumbled into it might have been the better way to put it. Now, someone else did the stumbling in this case, but Nico continues to struggle over there in LA. You got a kid in Joey Aguilar that is everything that this team needs in so many different ways, both on and off the field. He is the leader that I think this team needs at the quarterback position. He's also the guy that is going to let the ball rip. You saw it this past weekend. You saw it against Syracuse. He is not going to let an open receiver go without throwing that football. He might not hit it every single time. Now, he's been really good through 2 weeks, so Tennessee fans might not want to hear that. He's going to miss a couple of big-time passes. He probably will miss a couple of them this Saturday against Georgia. The reality is he's not going to let him go by the wayside. That's kind of what Nico did last season. There were a couple of passes where you're thinking, just rip the ball. Just throw the ball. You have the talent. You have the arm ability. Just throw the football. And he didn't. Joey Aguilar's throwing the football and very, very aggressively in this game. You got Georgia coming up this weekend. The first 2 weeks were fun. The offense is clicking. Everything is rolling. You want to win this game. I think you've lost 8 straight to Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. You want to find a way to win this game. What I can tell you is that atmosphere is going to be about as good as you're going to find across the country this entirety of the year. A special place up there in Neyland. Have not gone yet. Very badly want to go. But you're in a position where you win that football game, everything is taking off for you. You can enjoy the downfall over there in LA. I'm not saying you can't. I wouldn't necessarily encourage it. I don't necessarily love hate watching, quote unquote, but I'm not going to take away that power from Tennessee fans. You had a very weird offseason. You had a time when you felt really weird about the quarterback situation. Now you feel really good about what happened this past offseason. You saved a little bit of money. You saved a little bit of pride in a lot of respects. And you got a quarterback that's doing some incredible things for your football team. The loser is team with layups, quote unquote layups, I should say. Several teams did not play their best football, got easy wins. Let's just be totally honest. It is not always going to be pretty early in the season, but it wasn't all that pretty. Georgia looked very iffy against Austin Peay. Texas looked okay, is probably the best way to put it, against San Jose State. LSU did not look great against Louisiana Tech, and much more. Now, it should be said, a lot of these were bad weather. It was raining pretty much the entirety of the Texas game. Georgia had a delay during theirs. LSU had a pretty gross setup. A number of teams had not the best playing surface. Let's just put it at that. And there is something that should be said. In these early matchups where you have a Georgia team that struggles against Austin Peay, or in 2022 struggles against Samford, that's to be expected in some respect, especially if there's bad weather. You are going to tighten down the hatches. You're going to say, we're going to run the football to a win, and that's going to be that. That's the reality of that situation. It should have been the reality for Florida, but that's a totally different conversation. You're in a position where you got to find a way to get a win. I know it wasn't pretty. I know there's a number of fan bases that are worried about their teams after a great Week 1 performance. They look terrible, or for Texas, didn't look great in Week 1, didn't quite fix it in Week 2. You got to win, and you move forward, and you continue to build these things. Everyone's going to have a layup that doesn't go their way. As long as you're not Florida, as long as you do not fall to the fate of the Gators, you're in a good position moving forward, and you're in a position where, frankly, you should be happy that you didn't get South Florida, because if Georgia plays that level of football against South Florida, maybe we're having a different conversation. But you get the win, you move forward. Just to remind everyone that these layups aren't necessarily layups, and also, if you don't necessarily dominate these teams, not the worst thing in the world. Samford totally, I should say, hung around against Georgia in 2022, and we know what happened the rest of the way for the Bulldogs. The winner is the Mateer Maniacs. I've tried to come up with a name, not my best work. We'll try to workshop that and see what we can come up with the Mateer Fan Club, but this is a dude that had a lot of Heisman bets coming into the season, and a lot of people feel very smart after Saturday night. A very talented player. Absolutely a guy that kind of has Heisman energy. I know that sounds goofy, and it's absolutely something that shouldn't factor into the Heisman conversation. Let's not act like it doesn't. This is a quarterback in Oklahoma that has a little bit of swagger, that has a little bit of, they call him Moxie Mateer. He's a dude. He's going to make a number of big-time plays. He's going to make plays with his legs, going to make plays with his arms, and he's going to be all over national television. They still get Texas. They still get Missouri. They still get Alabama. They still get LSU. They still get a number of big-time games that are going to define their season, and they're in a position where they find a way to go into that Texas game undefeated. They leave there undefeated. You're in a great position moving forward. You can go 3-3 in the back half of that season, and you can make it to the CFP with Mateer at the very center of this thing. I believe he sits at plus 1,000 right now in the Heisman odds. He was plus 2,500 coming into this season. It has gone way up in the first 2 weeks. I don't see it really going anywhere. Now he's got to play great football the rest of the way, but there are a whole lot of people that were holding John Mateer Heisman cards that woke up on Sunday feeling really good about their bet. The loser is anyone that does not trust the CFP committee, because this one's coming down to an argument. I can promise you that right about now. We do not need to see more football. We will see plenty of more football, and it will be plenty more chaotic is probably the perfect word for it. This year is going to be weird. There's going to be a lot of teams that lose games that they're not supposed to. There's going to be teams that look terrible right now and then find their stride and play great football the last 10 weeks of the season. it is going to come down to an argument. I'm going to tell you that right now. Everyone brace yourself, because there is going to be a 9-3 Oklahoma against an 11-2 ACC champion loser and a Big 12 champion loser at 11-2. There's going to be a conversation between a 10-2 team against an 11-1 team from another conference. There is going to be a lot of angry people. I'm just going to be totally honest. There will probably be maybe three, maybe four teams vying for one spot at the end of this thing. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know how it all plays out. What I can tell you is that last Sunday, where the committee has to make all the decisions, it's going to be really hard to come to those decisions. And there's going to be a couple of people that are going to be really mad at the end of this thing, because I don't know about you guys, but I can't tell if anyone is all that much better than anyone else. It has been really weird, really frustrating football for the vast majority of fan bases out there thus far, and you're in a position where no one's going to separate that much. Every conference race is going to be as tight as can be, except for maybe the Big Ten, weirdly enough, but you're in a position where it's going to come down to margins, and those margins are going to be decided in that CFP committee room. I would count myself in the people that don't fully trust the committee to make the right decisions, if I'm being totally honest, with all due respect to what they do. Don't love the way that we go about this thing, but I'm just going to strap in, and hopefully they'll find a way to make the right decision. It is going to be a very big argument at the end of the season. I don't know who it's going to be between. I know we're going to have two fan bases from two different conferences that are making a lot of arguments against each other towards the end of November into early December. The winner is college football fans. The good news about what I just said is it's going to fall into the committee's hands. The 12 or 14 weeks we get leading up to that is going to be absolutely incredible football. It is going to be so much fun to watch what these teams do. There is going to be so many teams that lose week to week. There's going to be an upset just about every week that makes your jaw drop. There's going to be a number of teams that flip the switch and find a way to play really good football. Maybe Texas turns a corner this upcoming weekend. Now, we won't really know that because they're playing UTEP and then Sam Houston. We won't know that until the Florida game and the Oklahoma game, but maybe that does happen. Maybe there are a couple of teams that didn't play great football early on that will play great football. Maybe Mississippi State finds this as a galvanizing point and they go on to beat a couple of teams in the SEC. Probably don't make a CFP run, but at least throw a wrench into the works for the other teams in the CFP. They're in a position where this one's going to get really weird. And it's going to get really weird really fast. It's already gotten very weird, but you're going to be in a position where maybe Georgia Tech beats Clemson this upcoming weekend. Maybe Miami loses to South Florida and everything goes crazy. No one knows which way is up. We just got to sit back and watch this thing unfold. The best thing about this sport is it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be weird. The best thing you can do is just strap in, sit back, watch it unfold, and then hope your team finds a way to the top. Now, if you're not a fan of a team, I don't know how many college football fans are out there that aren't a fan of a specific team. If you're not, I wouldn't pick one right now. I think it's going to be a very weird season. I think you're going to be able to enjoy the sport as a whole, and then maybe pick a team this offseason. But just enjoy this. It is going to be weird. Your team probably is going to be a casualty of the season at some point. The cream will rise to the top, and we'll see what happens at the end of this thing. It is going to be really fun. It is going to be a crazy season. It's already started that way. It is going to continue in a big way, and we just get to enjoy it. Just sit back on your couch and hope that your team is not a massive casualty over the next couple of months. But it was a special weekend, and a weekend where a lot of people told me it was not going to be special. That's always the case in college football. You can never take a weekend off. This upcoming weekend is going to be really, really fun as well. We have some great SEC matchups that we'll talk about on Wednesday. It's going to be really fun. Down the stretch of this season, we're going to have some incredible games. We're going to have ups and downs. We're going to have teams come out of nowhere. We're going to have teams that look terrible right now that play great football down the stretch. It is going to be really fun, and you're just going to have to sit back, enjoy it all. We will get into week 3 on Wednesday. We'll give all our picks then. It was an incredible week 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do like, subscribe, comment, do all of that great stuff. It means the world to me. Absolutely helps out a ton, but we'll talk about week 3 on Wednesday. It's going to be a crazy one. Week 2 gave us plenty. Hopefully week 3 will give us plenty more, but we'll talk about it all on Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you then.